All right, welcome back to Money Minds. I want you all to pay very close attention to this video, okay? Please, 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 please pay very close attention to what is being said in this video because it's going to give you the exact mindset that you do not need to have about money. And it's going to teach us a very, very valuable lesson about money as it relates to athletes and as it relates to the everyday common person. Let's listen to what Odell Beckham had to say about earning a $100 million contract and how it may not be enough money. Let's listen.
If I didn't have a dollar in my account right here today as we speak, I'm going to be straight for the rest of my life. No question, right? I don't think everybody is in that. And when you've sacrificed your whole life to get here, and you're like, yeah, I played 10 years in the league. And I always explain this to people, I'm like, bro, you give somebody a 5-year, $100 million contract, right? What is it really? It's 5 years for 60. You're getting taxed. Do the math. That's 12 a year, that you have to spend, use, save, invest, flaunt, like whatever, however, just being real. I'm gonna buy a car, I'm gonna give my mama a house, I'm gonna do, everything costs money. So if you spending $4 million a year, that's really 40 million over 5 years, 8 a year, And now you start breaking down the numbers, it's like, that's a 5-year span of where you're getting 8 million. Can you make that last forever? And you always hear the people who ain't us and ain't been in the position like, oh, well, that would last a lifetime. If I didn't have a dollar in my account.
Oh boy. This is why athletes will never beat the allegations. This is exactly why athletes will never beat the allegations of them being just completely idiotic. If you can't figure out how to make $60 million last you a lifetime, that is not a money problem. That's a you problem. And I want you to focus on the little picture of him sitting down right here on top of a Ferrari, it looks like, or a Lamborghini right here. These are exactly the type of purchases that drain you of all your assets and have you end up looking for more money and at the end of it all looking like, where did all my money go? This shit right here that he's sitting on. Listen, I'm not saying that you can't have fun with your money, especially when you're an athlete and you feel like you've earned it. I'm not saying that you can't take trips. I'm not saying that you can't take flights. I'm not saying that you can't enjoy some of the money that you've earned. But to sit up on a podcast and to say that $100 million contract getting bust down to 60 over a 5-year period is not a lot of money, and you're questioning whether or not you can make it last, it sounds extremely tone deaf, especially when you make 99%. You make so much money to where 99 percentile of the rest of the Americas would look at you and ask you, are you retarded? And you're not about to convince me that any athlete works harder than an average American. People in the league, in the NFL, you will be blessed if you have a 10-year football career. That's not the average. So if you have a 10-year football career in the league, then cool. And hopefully you've made some money during that 10 years. But we're putting that 10 years up. That 10 years of hard work, dedication, showing up to practice, running around with a football. We're putting that 10 years up against 20, 30, 40, 50 years of the average American working for a lifetime, trying to make sure that by the time they retire, they have some money to just live off of and be able to take care of themselves, not live lavishly, just to be able to afford life, the rest of life, after they've worked 30 and 40 years. We're putting a football career up against that, and you're trying to tell me that football players and athletes work way harder than the American? No, you're not going to get that shit off on me. It's not going to work. He's talking about you sacrifice your life. You put your life on the line for the league, and you sacrifice your life for the league. And what about the people that sacrifice their entire life? Odell, you sacrificed 10 years. What's 10 years to 30 and 40 years of going in every single day? 8 hours. Some people work 9, 10 hours. Or if you're like me, you work 12 hours. What is 10 years to a 30, 40-year career of getting up every single day, going into a job and busting your ass? What are we talking about here? And Ryan Clark, who is the person that was hosting Odell in this particular interview, God love him. I think Ryan Clark is a very talented individual. I think he's a very talented dude, and I think that he's a very talented host as a podcaster, and that his career in podcasting has elevated. And he's pretty good at what he does now. So kudos and shout out to Ryan Clark. But Ryan Clark tried to defend this mess. He tried to come out and say, yo, y'all jumping on Odell for what he had to say. He's just sharing his experience. No, what he's sharing is his ignorance. Because again, if 60 million is just too much for you to think about of how to manage, then maybe you didn't deserve the 60 million in the first place. $60 million, you all. And we have this fool sitting up on a podcast talking about how, I don't know, 60 million, I gotta flaunt. Why do you have to? If you ever wanted to know what to do with the money and how to act with it, look at what the multi-billionaires do. The men that make several times over what you make. Look at how they handle money and how they treat money. The Bill Gates of the world. The Warren Buffetts of the world. Hell, even look at other athletes that are in your same generation. Let's look at Kawhi Leonard. He's still running around here driving a Ford Bronco. An old Ford Bronco, not the new one. And this is not to say that these people don't also have huge homes and huge houses, but there's a fundamental lack of understanding here that we're not focused on. And Ryan Clark tried his best to defend this mess that Odell Beckham got up here and said. But I'm sorry, you can't defend stupid. Because if you can't figure out, listen, the people that realize, even at 23, 24, 25 years old, this is what I don't understand. If you've never had anything in your life, you've always been poor, if you've always been struggling, you come from a family of struggle, you come from a family that has not had anything, that has always been in lack. If you come from lack and you come from a place of want and you come from a place of desire because you've never had the things that you always wanted, then explain to me how, when you finally get on the top of the mountain and you finally get an opportunity where you are bringing in millions upon millions of dollars, why would your first thought not be, gee, how do I make this money last me for a lifetime? How do I make it so that my kids, my children, my family never has to work again? They never have to experience poverty ever again. How is that not your first thought? Even at 23, 24, see, we giving excuses and we giving passes, and we're attributing that to age. No, absolutely not. That's not an excuse, because what smart people do is smart people realize that, listen, I may not be equipped. I may not be equipped up here to understand how to make the $60 million last, or even how to grow, how to double it, how to change it, how to multiply it. I may not have everything that I need in order to understand, to know how to put this money to good use. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to go out and find somebody who does. Yeah, I'm going to go out and find the people that know what to do with the money. See, these athletes, when they get these contracts, what he's not saying here is what he didn't tell y'all was that when these athletes get these huge contracts and they step into millions upon millions of dollars, they don't just get thrown this money and then say, all right, have a nice life. We'll see you next week at practice. No, these organizations have people in place for these athletes. Yeah. They have resources that these athletes can lean on and depend on in order to figure out how to make this money last. How do I figure out life from this point? They put you into contact with a CFA. They have resources available right there on the team that you can go and use to your benefit to figure out, damn, all right, I got all this money. What do I do with it? But see, that's not what's happening. These athletes aren't using that money. They're not using these resources. They get a bunch of money, and the first thing they think is, oh, damn, I got to look like it. I'm $100 million man. I got to look like $100 million man now. I got to go out and buy Porsches and Lamborghinis and all this dumb shit that's going to depreciate over time. I got to go out and buy a $5 million mansion. And then I got to go and buy my mama a $2.5 million mansion. Oh, and then I got to go buy my cousins and my little sister $500,000 homes. Why? They can't afford it. They can't afford the upkeep on it. They can't afford to take care of it. Why? Why are you going out and spending all this money? You've been tricked. You've been tricked by the streets. Odell Beckham has been tricked by the culture. That's what this is. The culture has tricked Odell into believing that because he got $1 million contract, or because any athlete gets $1 million contract, that they also have to look like that. Their life has to somehow reflect that they got a bunch of money in their bank account. You fell for it. You fell for the trap. You fell for the American dream bullshit. You fell for it. That's on you. Because it didn't matter how much money you got. You were going to find a way to blow it if that's the case. You were going to find a way to be irresponsible with that money if that's the case. And my point is that maybe if you can't figure out how to make $60 million last you a lifetime, then maybe you didn't deserve it at all in the first place. And the last example I'm going to leave y'all is, let's just say, all right, let's take Odell at his word. Let's say $60 million. If you just take $3 million of that $60 million, you got $57 more million left, right? Just take just $3 million. We take $3 million of that. And let's play with some numbers. Let's play with some numbers. We're going to go to Google. We're going to go to stock analysis. $3 million. Where's my calculator? We're going to bring up AGNC. Let's look at over the last year. AGNC at its lowest for the last year was down $8 to $8.34. But we're not even gonna take it there. We're gonna put it at a modest price point of $10 a share. Let's just say at $10 a share, you purchased AGNC and you plugged in $3 million. You took $3 million out of that 60. And you bought $3 million worth of AGNC. So we're going to divide the $3 million by the price point of $10 a share. That will give us 300,000 shares of AGNC. Now we're going to take that and we're going to multiply it by 0.12, which is 12 cents, which is the current dividend price of AGNC that pays out every single month. For those that know, y'all already know. What do you get? You get $36,000 a month, y'all. $36,000 every single month for doing absolutely nothing. You don't have to sign no more contracts. You don't have to go and deal with any brand. You don't have to go make any brand deals. You don't have to show up in any commercials. You don't have to play another game if you don't want to. You don't have to do anything but just sit back and collect $36,000 a month on a $3 million investment. For a year, let's see what that is. 36,000 times 12. $36,000 times 12. That $36,000 a month will bring you to $432,000 in 1 year. Now imagine, because you have that 57 million left, imagine that you don't touch this, that you just let it sit there and compound and compound and compound and grow and grow and grow. This shit is not rocket science, y'all. These people get up here and they try to make this shit seem like it's also difficult to manage. Oh, it's also difficult to figure out how to make a $60 million contract last a lifetime. Oh, boo-hoo for Odell. We should all feel sorry for athletes because they have it so hard, you all. Get the fuck out of here. Divest from the culture and invest in your future. This is not rocket science. I just can't. If I'm able to sit here and just Google about how much money you could possibly earn on a $3 million investment, there's no way you can tell me that you can't find somebody to do better. No way. Nah. The money is not the problem. The culture is. The money is not the problem. The culture is. Anyway, drop a comment down below. Let me know what y'all think about this. Is $100 million enough to last you for a lifetime? Drop a comment down below. Let me know. I'll holler at y'all later.